Teresha Young, relationship master coach, and welcome to Real-ationship Talk, the podcast hosted by yours truly, where we have open, non-judgmental, heart-to-heart conversations about love, self-love, self-care, dating, and relationships. And for this week's episode, I have been joined by the wonderful Tina Hull, who is a restorative health guide, mindset coach, and Akashic Records consultant. She helps women release and heal physical pain so that they are happy and healthy and thrive. She does this using her signature method called Infinitely You. Tina has been in the wellness field for over 30 years and now lives in the Caribbean. Tina, welcome to the show.
Thank
you
How are
you?
Very much. I'm great, thank you. I appreciate your time and your energy and this conversation. Thanks, Teresha.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm so excited for this conversation because, I love the work that you do. I absolutely love the work that you do. So thank you for the honor of being here. So before we get into talking about love and relationships, this show is also about self-growth and self-empowerment as well, and helping people along their life journey. So Tina, it would be absolutely magical if you could share with us some of the key highlights along your life journey and career path that led you to being a restorative health guide, mindset coach, and Akashic Records consultant.
Yeah, so that's a story in itself, but in the abridged version is I'm a massage therapist for over 20 plus years, and my desire has always been to help. And my girls were training for tennis to become pro-level tennis players. And so I needed to translate something online so that I could help more people, but then I could be location independent. And so I could travel with them, be their massage therapist or just mom or their support system, whatever they needed. And so I also do cranial sacral therapy, and I translated that online. And then I've taken a couple other energy courses, and I know that the power of the mind is so important. So I've included that as part of my method. And then from there, I became an Akashic Record consultant because it connects to the divine, and what other better source than to connect there.
I absolutely agree with that. I love the different modalities that you are specializing in and how you started from helping your daughters to transition in your offering online to now being global, because I could imagine that your business is now global. For example, yes. We're talking, you're in the Caribbean, I'm here in the UK.
Yeah.
Power of technology. So for those who don't understand more about the Akashic Records, would you mind just explaining a bit more about what that is?
Sure. So we all have a soul, and our souls have a journey, past, present, and future. And so the Akashic Records is your soul's book of life. And our record keepers are the keepers of the book of life. And so I tap into the higher powers and my guides and the record keepers, and then they give me guidance on what you need, where you need to heal, if you need to heal, either relationships or within yourself, or getting to the root cause of what's holding you back, and really releasing and letting go of all of that. What I found for myself when I go in is I'm being guided to the path of least resistance within my business. So I created a membership course through it. I've created programs through it. I've created my master classes through it. So I'm just open to receiving whatever messages for me and then for others. So it is really quite an amazing, rewarding experience.
It does. It's that whole giving and receiving aspect, isn't it? You are giving, but at the same time you're receiving information for yourself that is empowering you in your business. That's such a powerful approach. So do you have to intentionally channel the information, or do you find that even if you are on your daily business, that messages come through to you?
Yeah, the messages come through. When we get connected on that level, it's our higher self. So what I found at the beginning is that my higher self would be telling me something to do. I go into the records and it's just confirming. So a lot of times it's you're doing it and don't even know. And maybe there's not a lack of trust in ourself or in the voice that's telling us to do certain things.
Yeah.
So we just need that clarification. So I've had a couple of clients who did that. They just wanted clarity and they wanted confirmation with what they thought was the best route to go, and they got it, and they got more. So it's just fine tuning sometimes what you're thinking as well as what you're saying to yourself and to the outside world, because our thoughts and our emotions have power because they create a vibration and a frequency. They have energy. And if the energy is not clean and if it's not positive, then we're putting out there the manifestation that we're attracting, which is usually negative or not what we truly desire.
Yes.
So I really help you fine tune that message, what you're saying and what you're thinking, and tweaking it. And sometimes it's a tweak, sometimes it's a big journey because we've grown up with beliefs that we've had for years and years and years, and they're passed down from generations to generations, and we've got to unravel a lot of it.
And that is incredible, because as part of your work, what I understand is that you help to heal people without reliving the trauma that they may have experienced.
Yeah.
Can you share more about how you are able to do that?
Yeah, so the energy healing, what happens is that when we have a trauma, either from childhood, it could be a car accident, it could be something that as a child, we deem it as a trauma, and we have this rooted belief that gets trapped into our bodies, and it gets stored in our cells, and it starts to eat away at our cells, and it changes the equilibrium within our bodies. So when we actually take that energy out of us, then it allows the energies to be restored and rebalance themselves. So I'll give you an example, Teresha. There was two scientists, and I always forget the other guy's name. I apologize. Lloyd is the one guy, and he's part of the heart math program. And they did this research where they had a person hold a test tube with a piece of DNA in it. They had that person think of a destructive, unhappy memory and unhappy thoughts. They took that DNA, they took it out, put it under the microscope and analyzed it. And the cells had changed. The DNA had changed. They took that same DNA, put it back in the test tube, had the person think of very powerful positive memory and positive thoughts, take that DNA out, and had change back.
The power of the thought, and as you said before, isn't that incredible how something like that can happen? I heard of something very similar, actually. I believe it's a lady called, I think it's Lynn Matt-Taggart. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this lady, but I think she's done a very similar experiment whereby they had a flower or plant, and they got one test group to say positive affirmations to this plant in terms of you will grow and you will glow, something along those lines. And the plant actually grew into something absolutely beautiful. The other plant that didn't have any intentions set behind it didn't thrive as well as the previous one. So that's really powerful what you shared there, because it sounds to me, if I'm hearing correctly, that it's all about shifting the energy without having to go back into some of the perceived traumas that we had.
Yeah, so I'm removing all that negative energy out of your body. So anything so we create stories and we create beliefs, and beliefs are habits of thought. So and Donkey agrees with me.
I did wonder what. Look, you're in the Caribbean. It's understandable. I'll probably get a doorbell ring. You get a donkey outside.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. So when we have the beliefs aren't lining up with what we desire, then we manifest not what we desire. So that's the power of it. And we have to be the guard of our minds. We have to really pay attention to that mind chatter. And imagine also, because we're talking about relationships, how are you speaking to other people? Your children, your partners, your friends, are you speaking in a very positive, encouraging, uplifting, inspiring way? Or are you tearing the person down? And imagine getting, you know, again, as a child, our filters are not quite developed. So that's why it raises its ugly head when we're adults, because hopefully we're going to actually try to deal with them. Many of us don't. We brush it under the rug. We put it off to the side. We don't want to deal with it because, you know, it's uncomfortable. But we're supposed to feel it. We're supposed to allow it to come to us and through us. So if you want to cry, cry. You want to scream, take a pillow, go into your room, shut the door and scream your head out. It's okay. You've got to allow it. It's emotion, energy in motion. We've got to allow it to be released. If not, it gets stored, and that's when it breaks down the body.
Wow. So you are therefore linking the mind and the body aspect there, because again, as you said, it's energy in motion and it can be uncomfortable. And I think sometimes it can be uncomfortable because we put so much weight behind something being negative. So it's a negative emotion. So I don't want to express it because it's bad and it's wrong.
Yes.
If you just see it as energy in motion, it's just something that either needs to be released rather than suppressed and let it dominate you, then you just see it for what it is. Sometimes it might not even be the time to deal with the emotion, because sometimes it might be, oh, I'm not ready for it. But as long as you come back, I think you make a promise to yourself that I will deal with it, I will acknowledge it, I will respect it, and be able to manage that emotion. It's so important.
Yeah.
What you've said there as well, Tina, is the link between the mind and the body as well. And I know as part of what you do is to help people to heal physical pain.
Yes.
So my question to you is, in terms of, let's talk about the relationship context as well. Do you find that there is an underlying cause in a relationship that causes a known physical pain? So for example, someone comes to you and says, I've got a pain in my knee. It may be, so what is happening in that part of your relationship? Is it that straightforward?
Well, so here's my understanding of pain. It's more to do with ourselves. Okay. So knee issues are usually ego-based. So it depends on what's going on. Maybe you're fighting your partner on and sticking into the ego, and instead of coming from a space of love. So it's always about us first. So we've got to check in with ourselves. What are we feeling? What are we needing? What are we desiring? And too many of us in relationships assume the other partner should know. Assume the other partner should be a mind reader. Assume the other partner should get you. And the truth is that none of us know each other on that level. We can try to get there, but it's got to be a concerted effort. We have to make the time to actually try to get to know people on that deeper level, and most of us don't. It's very superficial levels. Now, your partners should be deeper, but not always, because everybody gets so caught up in their own selves that we forget about our partners sometimes, and we don't realize they're going through their stuff and they're responding to us. So here's the other thing. Everything is in response to you. So if your energy is off, remember that your family's energy is probably going to be off too. And so if your kid's all of a sudden throwing a tantrum, your husband's freaking out over something, somebody else is you're feeling something that's negative, check in with yourself. What's going on with you? Take some breaths, recenter, ground yourself, come back into the situation, and you'll actually realize your vibration is risen. So all of that will fall away.
Yeah. That can be quite a huge pill to swallow, that self-responsibility part of it as well. What do you mean that person has reacted or responded because of me? What could be in my vibration at the moment that is triggering that or causing that situation?
Yeah.
And it's often a mirror effect, isn't it, of what is happening out there is happening within ourselves.
Right.
It's a huge awareness piece, and I actually find it very empowering to be able to do that self-audit and self-reflection on ourselves. Of course,
we just have to be curious.
Yeah.
So everybody that we have an interaction with is there to teach us a lesson, possibly there to help us grow or expand, or to be aware of the fact that, that's not a trigger for us anymore. Yay, us. We're in that better space. It's mirror and magnets. So what are we attracting to us? So part of being in a relationship, sometimes we attract toxic relationships.
Yes.
And I realized throughout my lifetime, I have been in toxic relationships. Unfortunately, whether it's at work or at home or in my marriage. And I did not have this awareness until now at 54 years old.
Yeah.
So it's okay. There's no judgment around it. It's not that you don't make yourself wrong about it or bad about it. But now I'm aware. And because I'm aware, I'm not going to be doing it again.
Yes.
I don't want it.
Yeah. No, that's not. So one of the words that you said there was you attracted that situation. And again, to view that with no judgment,
Yes.
no beating yourself up about it, is that learning situation. So let's just stay on the theme of that now that we've kind of moved into that on your side of things. Can you think of any behaviors which you identified attracted those relationships to you?
Yeah, so growing up, I didn't get what I needed as a child as far as support goes, the love that I needed, the security and the safety that I needed. And because of that, and my parents did the best they could. There's no necessary blame or shame on their part or guilt. They did what they did, but because of that, I became codependent. And because I was codependent, I was looking for someone to take care of me. And I thought my ex-husband was that someone. And I also thought that I had done a lot of the healing. And clearly I did for a while, and our relationship was good for a while. And it got worse towards the end. But I realize now too, is that it's because I had lowered my standard. I didn't have boundaries. I wasn't loving myself. I was relying on him and external circumstances to fill me up. And so again, what a blessing for that to happen. It could have been less ugly, less painful and uncomfortable, but perhaps maybe that's what I needed to have the wake-up call. Maybe that's what I needed to start me on this path and this journey towards loving myself again, getting connected and tuned in with who I am, my higher self, and my higher source. So it had its positive at the end of the day, and now I'm helping other people hopefully not get to that point. Not have to go through what I went through, but actually learn the lesson now so that they can start to see, oh, where am I attracting this, and what's going on within my energy field, within myself, that I'm having this experience. And if you can ask yourself those questions and be honest, then you can change things. And it doesn't mean that your relationship's gonna end. So some people hesitate to work with me because I do have an ex, but what I'm going to say is I don't encourage you to get divorced. I don't encourage you to separate unless it is in a very hurtful, harmful way for you.
Yeah.
And there is no other choice. Because in the end of the day, we're hurting everybody.
Yeah.
Especially if you have children. So it's important for us to understand that just because things are not working right now doesn't mean they can't work better later or tomorrow.
Yeah, I completely hear what you're saying, and that's really encouraging for people to know that it doesn't have to be the end unless there is particular reasons why that relationship has come to an end, but there are ways to resolve the situation. And a lot of that is really, I think, identifying what your needs are as a person, and those boundaries that you spoke about, that you became aware of, that you didn't have in that codependent situation. And something else that was also coming up to me when you was talking was the theory of attachment styles. What you were speaking about there, just talking about, from the parenting journey, and how you can have the attachment styles where you can either be secure or anxious, or you can be the avoidant attachment style, whatever that means for you. But when you don't necessarily have that feeling of security growing up as a child, no matter how best our parents are trying to do for us, it can transition into our adult life and our personal relationships there. So you were talking about also just looking after yourself and realizing it might have been like a self-love journey that you were on too. So how do you, Tina, as a person, take care of your mind, body and spirit on a daily basis now?
Yeah, so I exercise at least 2 or 3 times a week. Fitness and health is really important to me. And if I have taken care of my temple, hopefully my temple will take care of me. For the mind, I read a lot. I watch a lot of inspiring videos and uplifting movies, and I feed my mind. And I work on listening to what the mind chatter is and the ego is every day, all day.
Yeah.
And
I do the same.
Yeah, you just have to tweak it. So, and it could be just calming it, right? So what we have to understand too is that the ego will rise, and that's okay. And we can soothe it. So just reminding yourself you're safe, everything's going to be okay. When you're stretching yourself and you're going out of that comfort zone, then ego is going to try to pull you back. So it's identity shifts sometimes as well. And then for spirit, I connect every morning. I really get in tune with what those thoughts are that are rising, and then I shift them. Okay. So the last 2 weeks ago, I went into this ego and inner child was screaming like crazy because I'm stepping up into this new identity, and they were not like it.
They're trying to keep you safe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, for some reason, I forgot to do the work. And so then it overran me and it controlled me. And I was in this big downward spiral. And then I took a breath and I was like, okay, it's all about me. It's all in response to me. So what do I want to create? What do I want in my awareness? What do I desire in my life? And know it's in your control. How amazing is that?
It is, now, absolutely.
Some of us to begin with are going to freak out because knowing that also means that you created what you have right now.
Yeah. That's that self-responsibility comes back again.
Yes. And it can change on a dime. It doesn't have to stay there. It doesn't have to be the way it is. And my life is so much better now. I am happier than I've ever been. I feel more content. I feel more connected. I feel more empowered. And that's my mission now, is to empower as many women as I possibly can.
Oh, and that's a beautiful mission to be on, because it's a lived experience as well. It's not just theory that you're putting out, you're living it and you are embodying that experience too. You are also acknowledging that you have your moments when that inner child or that ego will come and try to infiltrate us and dominate us. And I think sometimes there has been such a heaviness around the word ego, and just really seen it as something that it should be really suppressed and it's really bad. It's just for me an indication or a bit of a warning sign that something's a bit off. So
so ego is about your subconscious thoughts. And so if ego is telling you for some reason that you can't have things, you're not worthy, you're not deserving, this is something that's running in the back of your mind. It's what's controlling you to this point. So it's an opportunity for you to become the observer, the investigator, and go, oh, I wonder why that's coming up, and why is it coming up now? What was the trigger? And ask if it's true. If it's true, where did it come from? And what you can do or say that's going to make it the opposite of that. So is it true that you're not worthy? No, you're born worthy. Is it true that you're not good enough? No, you were born good enough. Is it true that you're not deserving? Hell no. You are 100% good at deserving. And so that's the work.
Yes, that is the work, because it's almost like, even if you don't believe it, and you may not even think it's true, it's like gathering that evidence to show it, because we have our beliefs are probably formed of the evidence to back that up, to back up that belief. So when you have a new self-empowering belief, it's you're going to have to build up some of the evidence, the work to justify that new belief, that new self-image that you want to have of yourself. And it does take work, but as you said, how amazing and how beautiful is it when we are gifted with that information to do the work.
And your emotions are the key. So if I call it your internal guidance system. Well, I don't call it that, but Abraham Hicks called it that. So it's our GPS. So if we're low vibe and we're not feeling good, or we're feeling angry, or we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling whatever those low vibe energies are, then really take a breath and tap into why, what is the thought behind the emotion? Once we figure out the thought behind the emotion, then we can unravel what's going on. And triggers are also there as a gift. It's an opportunity to let go and release what's been controlling you for so long. And if you're seeing patterns in your life, in your relationships, in your whether it's your friendship or your partner or your children, then those are also clues that something's going on. And it could be generational, because there was a point where Elton and I were going through this big back and forth, and we were both in victim modes and states, and we were having these cyclical arguments. And at one point, when I was pretty much praying for things to change and shift, I had a big aha moment that my parents also went through the same thing. I'm like,
it makes sense. It makes sense now.
It does. And the beauty of healing is that you're healing for the past, the present, and the future. So if you are connected to yourself, you are connected to the divine, you are feeling good about life, you cannot help but inspire and motivate and feel and help other people feel good and rise with you. So it is almost imperative for you to do the work in order for you to heal and then have better relationships. Why stay stuck? Why stay in the environment that you're in?
Exactly. And some of the modes that you spoke about was that victim mode that we can stay stuck in. And I say reframe it to being a victor rather than being a victim in your situation. And it is so empowering to be able to take that information. And this is like some of the work I do with my clients when they come. It's the forgiveness work, because when you sit back and you think, I'm not condoning the actions of somebody else or whatever I'm holding on to, but it's simply just releasing those toxic thoughts, feelings, emotions, emotion that you may be having. And as you said, it's important to identify what the thought is that is triggering that emotion. I think there's another powerful exercise by Abraham Hicks. And I think it's like the 17 seconds of positive thinking.
Yes.
And
Or 17 seconds to stop the thought that's going to spiral into a negative downward. Can't stop it.
yeah. However you do it, isn't it incredible? Because you do it for 17 seconds, then it's another 17 seconds, and you build it up, and it changes the vibration there. So it does start with the thought. Now, for me, often when I need to do my work, I'm always working on myself too. Some people call it shadow work. Some people call it whatever work you're doing. I like to journal because it really gives me an opportunity to witness those thoughts and then to identify what the emotion is that is associated to that thought. Are there any other techniques that you would encourage people to be able to do to witness their thoughts?
Yeah, so I journal, but I don't do it frequently enough. So it's not my method. When I go for my walks, that's when, because I'm quiet. So the point is to be quiet, give yourself some space and time to be able to listen to the thoughts that are rising. And hear them. So people ask me this: is it ego or is it my higher self? How do I know? Ego is mean.
Straight up mean.
They're negative. It's telling you that you're wrong or you're stupid or you're fat or you're ugly or all those nasty, mean girl, mean boy thoughts. That's ego. Your higher self is going to say, you're good. Everything's okay. Come over here. It feels good to hear it. It's positive. It's uplifting. It's encouraging. It's inspiring.
Now, when you put it like that, so beautifully simple, it's mean. If it doesn't make you feel good, then that's your ego talking in comparison to the other concept, which is caring and makes you feel good and uplifts you. So that's a really good question. Do you find that there are any misconceptions that people have about what you do before they start working with you? Because I know you spoke previously about how you've got an ex and some people say, does that mean that my relationship's going to come to an end? Do you find there's any other misconceptions that people have before working with you?
Well, so most people come to me because of physical pain or physical restrictions or experiences they're having. And they don't necessarily know that the energy work's going to be able to help them, and if it's going to be able to be effective and heal them, especially over the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell
how
you
does that work?
To give you the best example, the most powerful. Young lady comes to me. She's an actual therapist. So she's a mind therapist, psychologist. I think she just said therapist. And she hadn't walked in 12 years without a wheelchair or a crutch.
Yeah.
Her goal was to be able to walk with just assistance of her husband. We had that in 2 sessions. Wow. After our time together, she was able to walk down the street to her pharmacist and back completely unassisted.
Oh, amazing.
So it works. And what she didn't realize is the emotion she was holding in her body. Because when I did an intake form with her, she kind of brushed off the emotion, because as a therapist, you think you've dealt with the emotion. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that we have blind spots when it comes to ourselves.
Yes.
Sometimes we need help of other people to see and tweak and be able to shift those small little things sometimes where help us line up with the truth of who we really are and who we're meant to be. What I've discovered lately, Teresha, is that I'm an activator.
Okay.
And so I see you as the truth of who you are. I don't see you as somebody who's got cancer. I don't see you as somebody who is not able to walk. I have such a knowing and a belief within me that you can heal. There's no question in my body.
Mm.
And when this woman came to me at first, I was like, oh, wow, this is big. Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, I didn't know that she would get the experience that she did. But I was open to trusting that she would get what she needed. And what she needed was to be able to walk down the street.
Oh, what a story, Tina. That's really moved me, because there's so many limitations sometimes that are we place on ourselves, and sometimes it's the limitations and the labeling that comes with some of our diagnoses that we have, and we become confined and trapped within those labeling. So, for example, I have a daughter, and she has been diagnosed with a disability and an underlying medical condition called MED13 syndrome, which is a genetic condition, and also global developmental delay. So there are various different labels that have been placed on my daughter that could restrict my belief that she has the power, and we all have the power to heal ourselves in whatever way, shape or form that may be. But when you are open-minded to it, the healing can come and the results can be seen. Now, would you say that the person that you work with really has to have 100% belief that it's going to work, or can it still work even if someone's got a little bit of doubts going on?
No, the desire to get healthy is the biggest part for at the beginning. The belief comes, you kind of borrow my belief.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's a flicker of hope, and then you feel hopeful. And then because you feel hopeful, then you get, oh, maybe it could happen.
Yeah.
It is possible. What is more possible? Oh my God, it's happening. It can be. So it's that it is a journey, it's a process. And you basically, I piggyback you for a while on the belief. Yeah. Because I'm not wavering on that belief.
Yeah.
I have a knowing that you are going to be healthy and healed again. And unfortunately, when we get to the point where we need that kind of healing, it does take time. It's not going to be, it can be an overnight experience, but we're still human, and we still have the mind chatter, and we still have all the habits of thought and beliefs and stories and blah, 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 and the external world that we see. And the external world is going to tell you that it's not going to be able to happen. It's impossible and all this kind of stuff. So you still have to deal with all of that. So it's not that it can't happen overnight, but usually it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Managing expectations. It can happen, but usually it doesn't. And I think that's really comforting to some people, because there's that concept that believing is seeing. And sometimes we will go in there thinking, but is it going to work? Is it not going to work? What if? And to know that it starts with a desire, as you said, just a desire, and they can bounce off your belief, I think is so comforting to know that in that situation. So I also...
Sorry, Teresha, just the what if phrase.
Yes.
That what if phrase is a very powerful thing.
Okay.
Flip it. So what if it doesn't work? What if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm wasting my money? But what if you're not? What if it works? What if I get what I want and what I desire? What if I do heal? What if I do find the love of my life? What if? So use the what if in a positive way and really feel into the energy. I'm sure that your listeners could feel the difference in that energy.
Yeah, I felt it as soon as you said it. What if it does work out? What if I do get that? It feels exciting, isn't it? When you say that, it's like, what if? It's like, what's the best case scenario here? Yeah. And to tap into, and how would it make you feel? Because we know that the vibrations of the universe is a feeling-based universe. So how would it make you feel when you have it? When you have it, when you achieve it? I think that is so, so incredibly empowering to just reframe the way that you think about it. So I'm going to swift more into the relationship angle as well. And you briefly spoke about your ex. I think you said your name was Elton, was it?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. And you spoke about some of your key learnings from that experience that you had about boundaries, codependency. Did you have, and it doesn't even just have to be with your ex or previous relationships, what have been your key learnings and your experiences in those relationships?
So I didn't have a whole lot of relationships before, and basically half my life I've spent with Elton. So
Okay.
he's probably the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So what became very clear to me was that we are mirrors and magnets for each other. So when I was in a victim state, he would often say, "Oh, you're playing the victim." And when he was in a victim state, I'd say, "Oh, you're playing the victim."
Okay.
So we would play off of each other and that energy. So we would both go into it, and then it was really destructive. So it wasn't very healthy. So that's a big thing. My experience now is that if you don't have a relationship where you're in love with yourself first, and you do not need that external validation from your partner, then you are going to be in such an amazing relationship that you can't, it has to succeed. It has, because you're both flying, you're both soaring, you're individuals that are in love with each other as an individual within themselves first, and then you come together and you amplify that.
Yeah.
How incredible is that? Like, that is what I want.
It is powerful. Of course. No, bring it on. And the key thing there, what you were saying, is that it's two people feeling that way to make that a powerful relationship. So it's not just necessarily, oh, I feel really good within myself, so that relationship's now going to work. That other person has also got to be doing the work on themselves to feel really good within themselves. They're not looking for somebody else to make them happy. For example, you know, that external validation, all of that external factors to make them happy or to make them feel loved. It starts with yourself.
Yeah, because what happens in that situation, and so let me kind of back up a little bit. So when we start, if we're already in a relationship and we start loving ourselves, we definitely can affect our relationship within that partnership. And we can help them see, because we're leading ourselves, that if they maybe tap into that too, that things can get better. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that you come together as, you know, that strong power. Usually that's people that are really in tune with themselves, what they want and where they desire, and probably have been there, done that, and now
What the t-shirt.
Learn the lessons, and then now that they know better. Now the other thing is if you get up in the morning and you're feeling amazing, and you walk into an environment where your husband or your children are not feeling amazing, do you then allow yourself to not feel amazing? Most of the time we do. As humans, that's our usual response. It's like, sorry for that.
No.
You know, it's and I used to be like that. My Elton used to dictate the mood of the house and our energy, and I allowed it. So I take full responsibility for that. But if we're in a conscious life and a conscious experience with the other people, we're realizing that also how we feel can help them either shift out of their energy, hopefully, but they also have to be aware. There's an awareness, because no matter what I did towards the end of the relationship, Elton just saw it as an irritant, because he was becoming very narcissistic, and I don't know if he always was, but he just didn't see it. It was my fault for everything. Everything, and if I didn't do anything, it was my fault. So there was,
didn't win either way.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I chose to stay within myself and to continue to love myself, fill myself up, and not allow him to dictate who I was being. So at the beginning, I was like cat on a hot tin roof. I would react and respond to him, and I didn't like it. I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, and I felt sad that I was becoming this nasty person because I felt like I was out of my power.
Yeah.
So when I stepped into my power, I stepped into the truth of who I was, then I didn't feel the need for that anymore. So he would yell at me and I just kind of look at him. Okay. You know, and that's a beautiful place to be, where you're in that state where what he or she says to you doesn't matter.
Yeah. I hear that. It's a difference between reacting and responding. Like, you started to respond rather than react to his behaviors there.
Yeah.
Was there therefore a point, because obviously there was a flip when suddenly you said, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm not tolerating this anymore.
Yeah.
Do you recall that moment when you had that aha, this is now what I need to start doing?
Well, I started working with an empowerment coach because I was fully out of my power. There was no two ways about it. So she just kept helping me see what the beliefs were running the show, and the thoughts and the fears and the worries, and it got really rooted deep. And so when you do the work, the experiences are going to come to you to show you how to manage them.
Yeah. When you least expect it sometimes too.
Yeah. So I got a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And so she kept reminding me that being in your power is an energy.
Okay.
And people know, when you go into a room of a group of people, a party or an event or something, and you basically migrate to that person that is high vibe, feeling good. You just feel the energy. You avoid the person that's low vibe, feeling not themselves and whatnot. So you can we have that sense, and it's not necessarily on a conscious level. So when we're in our power, we also, and raise our boundaries, we also don't have to explain ourselves. We don't have to justify ourselves. Our no is no, or not right now, or I'm not available for that.
Yes. I love, these are some really great indications that you are showing of signs that you might be in a toxic relationship, for example. So when you are being a people pleaser, when you are saying yes, 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 and not allowing yourself to say no, or maybe not yet, being out of your power. So I think these are really great indicators for people to be aware of, because so many people are in toxic relationships, whether that is a romantic relationship or it could be family, whatever dynamic it may be. Yeah, but when you're not feeling, I guess one of those key indicators is when you're not feeling good.
Yes.
Isn't it? When you don't feel maybe happy, that's a sign that you're in a toxic relationship. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it's consistent. So I remember looking back at some journal writing that I had done, and throughout all of it, every time was this constant theme of, oh, I want a healthy, happy, respectful relationship. And I kept expecting him to change. And if they're toxic, they're not going to, because they don't take responsibility. So I also learned that the truth is that it's not you, it is them. And you've just got to do your own personal work. And then when you're ready, you'll end the relationship if it's that toxic. And toxic relationships are lessons that you can learn from. They're helping you grow, get stronger. I mean, the strength that I have now is beyond what I ever thought.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it at the time how weak I had become. And it's not a bad thing, it's just what it was.
Yeah.
So again, there's no judgment around any of this. It's just what it is. It's information.
Yes.
So if we take the information and we do something with it, fabulous. If
Yeah.
we take information, we don't do anything about it, you're going to get the same result.
That's so true. And that's often what I say. I say, knowledge is power, but what you do with that knowledge is powerful. And it is information for you. And it's so wonderful to hear, Tina, that you are in a much stronger position now, more self-empowered in how you live your life and how you look after yourself. Would you say that that because of your experiences, you are now aware of some key ingredients that make up a healthy, loving relationship now? What would you be thinking? It needs to be this, it needs to be this.
Yeah. So again, the partner that I foresee myself with is aware of himself, has self-awareness, is invested in growth and evolution, and willing and capable of change, respectful, kind, can be his own man and not have to be around me all the time. We can have individual lives. He's not threatened by me, my success, my relationships with other people. There's a healthy respect, and there's a back and forth, and we challenge each other in a very positive way. We grow together. We're willing to listen to each other, and we have common interests, and we also have things that we like to do individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Tina, it sounds like you have got very specific about your requirements and your preference.
And I'm going to get them.
You're going to attract that 100%. And that's what's really crucial, because you've stated values in there, behaviors, the commonalities, but then also the wonderful differences that you will share too, the personal space. And I must emphasize that when it comes to relationship, the beauty of also holding personal space, so that you can have your me time, you can do your own inner work, your self-growth and everything. So I absolutely loved that. And I know that can be transitioned for so many other people as well, working on yourself and doing that. So I think that's absolutely amazing that you shared that. So you've spoken about so much there, but I still want to ask you, do you have a personal definition of love in a romantic context?
A personal definition. It's more of a feeling. It's like you're amplified, you're alive, you're electric, you feel magical, and like nothing would stop you. You just it's just an amplification of how I feel about myself and my life.
Wow, Tina, I'm almost speechless there, because they were really great feelings and adjectives that you have. Electric, even that word sparked something within me when you said it, because electrifying, like how amazing to have that spark and that connection within yourself and with somebody else, that each day you just feel that electricity running. I absolutely love that. And I love asking this question for my amazing guests, because each one is different when it comes to love. It's not a one size fits all. And I do think it's really important that people tap into what love means for them and how it will make you feel when you are there with that person. Even when you are in that relationship, tap into that energy of love. Love is the essence. It's just the way it is. And even if you're looking to attract that person, still tap into the energy of whatever love means for you, and focus on, again, because we can have a habit of focusing on what we don't want. Well, I don't want to be treated like this. I don't want this. I don't want that. And again, we're focusing on what we don't want. Energy flows where attention goes, right? So then reframe it to focus on what you do want and how it's going to make you feel in that as well. Something that you also mentioned when you was talking about your relationship going forward was listening as well, somebody who listens. So I would imagine that having really effective communication in a relationship is important to you too.
Yeah. Who wants to have a relationship where you're talking to the wall? Or, you're kind of half listening and half paying attention. Now, I have been guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is human, and it's going to happen because we're all our individual selves, and we get distracted, and we're sometimes off in our own little worlds when we're thinking and our partners are talking at us.
Yeah.
So, right. So what I would really like is a coming together. So, when we're both in the space of being able to give and receive,
Yes.
listen, and then converse and have a conversation, that would be the best, because now we're both going to get what we want and desire. I'm going to feel heard, and the other partner is going to feel good because they've actually spent time, and they're mindful of what I'm saying, and they're paying attention.
Yes.
And then you do it for each other.
It goes both ways. Absolutely. That mutual exchange of listening, being understood, being heard, attention. And the world is busy. Your business is online, my business is online too. We probably have some in-person stuff that we do. We're on our phones. We can be so distracted by little things going on. But when you are fully present with your partner, that can be amazing. And it starts with you, as you said, it starts with ourselves. So previously, in our conversation, you said about you listen when you're on your walks. You listen to the information that is given to you. So it starts with us being able to listen to what is being given to us, so that we can therefore listen effectively to a partner and fully be present. So I think that's been one of the key themes. It starts with ourselves, what you've been saying here in this, conversation.
Yeah. And so also understand that as a woman, men receive things differently. They hear things differently. But if they're good men, they want to love you.
Yeah.
They want to give you, they want to make you happy. They're not trying to upset you. They're upset because you're upset.
Yeah.
And they're upset because you're upset, and they're upset because, and it becomes this cycle. And then, at the end of the day, neither of you get what you want.
Yeah.
So, and as a man, we need that. We need to have your presence and being mindful and being in the moment and paying full attention to us. So there's lessons on both sides that we need to understand and learn about each other, so that we're actually going to be building a relationship and not just being in one that's not satisfying. It's not growing. It's not happy. We're just here because we're here. We loved each other once, because chemistry only lasts for so long.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. And hopefully it's a lifetime that you want to be together. Like when I married Elton 26 years ago, I believed it would be forever. I truly did. And I did try, and I did my best, and it didn't work out, and that's okay. But if you are truly in it for the ever experience, then you've got to be constantly growing and changing and making the connections with each other and making each other a priority, especially when you start having kids.
Yes. I know how easy it is for couples when they have kids not to make their relationship a priority. And you can understand your kids are a priority 100%, but your relationship is also a priority.
And think of it as a gift to your children. If you're happy and you're healthy and you are in love with each other, they may ooh and ah and they're embarrassing me. It's okay. They'll get over it, because you would rather that than at the end of the day you fighting all the time. Yeah.
It's that awareness piece and being mindful again of all of that energy that we are bringing to our family dynamics as well for the kids, because I know from a lot of experience, personal experience, and also people I speak to, a lot of what we carry on into our adulthood is the experiences that we have as children. So it's about being very mindful about the environment and the experience that we are creating for our children. So, oh, Tina, this has been absolutely amazing, this conversation. Thank you so much. I'm going to start bringing it to a close. I could talk to you for hours. There's so much that you wanted to talk on. You spoke about the men. I was like, oh gosh, we could have spoken a bit about masculine energy and feminine energy, but we can maybe save that for another day. But Tina, before we go, I would love if you could leave our listeners with one key message that can help them on their journey of love, life, and relationships.
It all starts and ends with us. It truly does. There was my first experience with a coach was in a mastermind, and it was for business. And so we were doing business stuff, but there was a lot of personal stuff. And at one point I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm not doing as much business stuff as I thought we were going to do.
Yeah.
And the realization is that you are your business. And if we don't get us right and our thinking right and our connection to God, source, the universe, your higher power, everything else is going to be hard.
Yeah.
And life is not meant to be hard. We're meant to have fun. We're meant to be happy. We're meant to be in joy. Yeah. And why not?
Yeah.
Why do we want struggle? Now, I also realized I was addicted to struggle.
Okay.
Because it's been the life pattern.
Yeah.
So be aware of that as well. Sometimes we can create things because we're addicted to the struggle. And we can look for things to pick on because we're there. There was a couple of my clients who came to me and she's like, Tina, I'm worried about something all the time, but I have nothing to be worried about. Financially, she was good. Her and her husband were good. Her children were doing well. But there was this one guy in her awareness to do with some garbage cans, and it became her life mission to focus on that. But now looking at it, from where I am, I realized it's because she needed something negative to be in her life because it's what she was used to.
I think for me, I can resonate with that as well. Resonating with being addicted to the struggle, and it's something that I have identified over the years and have navigated now to understand when I am making a mountain out of a molehill, so to speak. It does not have to be a struggle. So I absolutely love that awareness piece as well, for people to think, am I addicted to the struggle there? Tina, an amazing share, absolutely amazing. I have loved this conversation so much. I'm going to reiterate that. And I'm sure everybody listening has really enjoyed the information, have taken away so much as well, always learning new information. And if they would love to follow you, connect with you, how can they reach out to you?
So I have a website. It's tinas-massageclinic.com. I'm on Facebook, Tina A. Hull, because there's other Tina Hulls, and tinasclinic.com, or I'm on LinkedIn at Tina A. Hull as well.
Okay.
So there's lots of spaces. And if you go on my website, there's also some free resources. There's some guided meditations I've infused with some energy. One is about healing relationships. So if that is something that you'd like, it's there for you to download. So
oh, that's awesome. Tina is practically everywhere, so there's no not finding her or reaching out to her. Remember the A?
yes, remember the A.
Oh, brilliant. Tina, once again, thank you so much for your time, your attention, your energy today. It's been an absolute honor. It's been a beautiful conversation, so thank you. Thank you. And for everybody who has listened to this episode, I also want to thank you for your time and your energy. Take great care of yourself and others too.